yeah, lock in.
Alright, I can't really see the chat. Let's just go react to some of these videos, yeah? Why not? Okay, 4 true horror Uber stories. Okay, that might be interesting, you know? Okay, let's try it. Let's have a look.
Chaos. I started driving for Uber to make ends meet. I was laid off from my retail job and needed quick income. The thing about rideshare gigs is you see all kinds of people, especially when you're working late nights like I was. There were awkward encounters, drunk passengers, weird conversations, but none of that compares to what happened one Friday night in October. It was a little after midnight, and I had just dropped someone off at a hotel near the outskirts of town. My app pinged almost immediately with a new request. The pickup location was about 6 minutes away, in front of a bowling alley that was part of a strip mall. Pretty standard stuff.
Standard.
The name on the ride said Derek. I accepted it and started heading over. The area was quiet when I arrived. Just a few dim parking lot lights. No cars in sight, and the bowling alley looked closed. But there was a man standing alone under one of the lights, wearing a gray hoodie and jeans. He was tall, maybe 6'2", with his hands in his pockets, head down like he was looking at his shoes. As I pulled up, he looked at me, but didn't wave or move. I rolled down the window and said, "You Derek?" He nodded slowly, walked over, and got into the back seat behind me. I started the trip and asked him if the destination in the app was correct, an address about 20 minutes away in a residential neighborhood I'd never been to. He said, "Yeah, that's right," in a quiet, calm voice. I remembered thinking he sounded a little off. Not drunk or high, just sort of flat, emotionless. But I didn't.
Well, it is past 12 at midnight, so, you know, your boy might just be a bit tired, alright? It is what it is. It's like, probably cold. It's past midnight, you know? Yeah, makes sense to me. So far though, it doesn't sound that bad, okay? You are risking, you are risking that type of customers because you are doing Uber in the midnight, so of course you're not gonna get the joyful people. Okay, cool. It is a bit suspicious that he's alone in a closed car park in the bowling alley, but you know, that's the risk you take. You are an Uber driver at night. You gotta expect the weird stuff. And you gotta understand the risk that these people are out at night for a reason, but also you're probably crazy yourself because why are you picking up crazy strangers anyways? And also, if he's 20 minutes away from his house, you know, like, it is what it is. Just do the job. That's what he's doing though.
Think too hard about it at the time. I started driving, and he didn't say anything for the next 5 or 6 minutes. I glanced at him in the rearview mirror now and then, and every time I looked, he was staring straight ahead. Not out the window or at his phone, just at the back of my head. I tried to break the silence by asking how his night was going. He paused, then said, "Just needed to get out of there." I asked, "Out of where?" He said,
"Yeah, Joe, you're too nosy, bruh. You far too nosy for that." Yeah, nah, the Uber driver's dead. He gone, bro. Way too nosy. Just do the drive. Be silent. You know, too curious, you know what I mean? Like, if he ain't speaking for the first 6 minutes, just be quiet. Hey, you don't need a small talk, because he's obviously fine with it. Oh, he's cooked.
"Doesn't matter." So I didn't push it.
Yeah, don't push it.
We drove a while longer. About 15 minutes in, I realized we were getting closer to the destination, but the address was in a really isolated part of town. No streetlights, big yards, and lots of trees. As we approached the address, he suddenly leaned forward and said, "Actually, can you pull into that driveway right there?" He pointed to a house on the right.
He's cooked.
The house was dark.
He's cooked.
No lights on inside or out.
He's cooked.
It looked old and abandoned, honestly. It had an overgrown lawn and paint peeling on the siding. There was also no car in the driveway. I said, "Is this your place?" And he said, "Just pull in." I hesitated, but turned into the driveway.
He's cooked.
I stopped near the front of the house and put the car in park. He didn't get out. I looked back at him and said, "Everything all right?" He stared at the front door and said, "Wait here." Then he got out and started.
Oh. Oh. He's cooked.
Walking toward the house. He didn't go to the front.
He's gonna, like, kill somebody and then tell the Uber driver to drive or something. or the Uber driver's gonna get kidnapped and cooked.
Door. He walked around the side of the building and disappeared from view. I
Robert.
sat there for maybe 2 minutes, trying to decide what to do. The ride was technically still going. I didn't want to drive off and get penalized, but I also felt like something wasn't right. My gut told me this guy wasn't just heading inside to grab something.
He's gonna kill somebody.
Finally, I ended the trip manually. I marked it as complete and started to back out of the driveway. But before I could shift into reverse, I saw him walking back toward the car, fast. His hands were empty, and he had this strange look on his face, like he was angry or excited. I unlocked the doors because I didn't want to make it a confrontation, but something in me was screaming not to let him back in. He opened the rear door, got in, and said, "Take me to the other place." I asked, "What other place?" He said, "Just drive, I'll tell you." I said, "You need to put it in the app." He didn't answer. He just stared at me in the mirror. I said again, "I can't take you anywhere unless you put it in the app." He didn't say a word. After a few seconds, he told me to drive to where I picked him up. I didn't want to argue anymore, so I started heading back toward the strip mall. The whole way there, I felt this pressure in the car. He wasn't talking, but I could feel him watching me. The hairs on my arms were standing up. He was still staring at the back of my head. At one point, I tried to lighten the mood. I said, "Rough night?" He replied, "You could say that."
He killed somebody.
Everything's all right, and he said, "Not yet." I didn't ask any more questions. When we got back to the strip mall, I parked under the same light where I picked him up, but before I could say anything, he leaned forward and asked, "You ever wonder how you're gonna die?" I froze. I laughed awkwardly and said, "Not really something I think about." He didn't laugh. He just leaned back in his seat, and after a few seconds,
He got out.
He said, "I think about it all the time." Then he opened the door and got out without another word. He didn't close the door right away. He just stood there for a second, half in and half out of the car. Then he looked at me and said,
"You're
"You
lucky."
picked the wrong guy up tonight." He shut the door and walked off into the darkness behind the bowling alley. I sat there for a minute, too shaken to move. Eventually, I drove home, constantly checking my mirrors. When I got home, I looked at the trip details again. Something was off. The name had changed. It no longer said Derek. It was blank. No name, no profile picture, no trip history. It was like the ride never happened. I contacted Uber support to report it, but they told me the trip data was unavailable. They said sometimes that happens if the app crashes or if the rider cancels midway. But I know what I saw. I know I completed the trip. I know the man got in and out of my car, and I know he said what he said. "You picked the wrong guy up tonight." I've never seen him again, and I hope I never do. But
W Uber driver, man. He helped that man assassinate that guy. GG. You know what? That is a... You know what? Hey, that makes sense. You know, he's lucky. He's lucky he complied. Because, like, obviously that stranger man was definitely contemplating if I should kill the Uber driver as well. But the Uber driver complied, you know. He got the mission done. He didn't ask too many questions. He just did the job. And obviously, you know, out of his own psychotic mind, he'll be like, "Yeah, you picked up the wrong guy tonight, but I'm gonna let you live because you did successfully do the mission for me." So, yeah, W Uber driver. He survived by... Yeah, he survived. I bet if he was like a Karen Uber driver, he would be dead as well. GG. W Uber driver, man. Not bad.
every time I get a ping in a
I can't even tell if the chat's here. Hello, chat? No, you guys are just chilling here with me? That's okay.
lit parking lot or have a silent passenger in the back seat. I remember that night, and I remember that feeling that something terrible could have happened. That maybe he changed his mind at the last second, or maybe he was never planning to do anything, just wanted to scare someone. But I still wonder what he meant, and if he ever found the right car.
W story, man. Hey, that story is not bad. You know, W Uber driver, he actually survived by complying. I mean, it is technically his fault for doing night missions, you know? Like, but at the same time, like, in that story, right? Once you accept a mission on the app, you really can't do anything about it. Because if you think about it, right? If you try to pull anything off midway or like you're going to be on his target list. Like, it's GG. You gotta just commit until the very end. Yeah. You gotta just commit. Not gonna lie. Like, what can you do about it? You can't, like, tell him to get the car. He's just gonna kill you there. You know, all you can do is really comply and yeah, like, I don't think you could really do anything in that situation. Besides just complying. I mean, technically you could, like, he could have peeled out of the driveway or not into it. But at the same time, it's like, it's already over. Like, you already signed the contract. You're pretty much stuck doing that mission, you know what I mean? Like, if you did something drastic, you're probably gonna end up on the men's hit list. Like, usually, yeah, you can't do much. I can't think of anything you would do in that situation. He pretty much did everything you could. Smart-wise. Because obviously the first mistake he did was, you know, accepting a mission without even, like... I mean, no, he needs to get the paycheck in, you know? He got to get that paycheck. And he's doing nighttime deliveries. So, you know, you're obviously going to pick up people at night. Like, you gotta, you know, it is what it is. Yeah, I don't think that's the risk you take of taking passengers. Like, that's just the risk in general. Don't think you can do anything about that situation. Uber driver though, was he smart? To a degree, yes. No, depends. Depends on his framework. However, I think the only mistake he did was try to do some small talk. I think the best way, if you want to do Uber deliveries at night, is be a psychopath yourself. Like, you know, if you're also a crazy guy as well and you do that type of Uber stuff, yo, you're gonna be W-mans. Like, just stay silent, deliver, done. And if anything happens to you, it is what it is, you know? Yeah, not bad. I mean, like, if we're assuming that guy was the murderer and he murdered somebody and then left, right? Obviously, if you're a murderer, but then Uber driver, he didn't do anything about it, he ain't gonna snitch or nothing. You know, you're obviously gonna let him live. Hey, Uber driver, that was a good story though, you know what I mean? Anybody got an issue with that? Anybody got an issue with my commentary? Say it now, or however for your piece. No one's actually watching the stream. Just here. You guys can watch the VOD, okay? I'm trying to do some framework here. It is what it is. Okay, next up, story number 2 by Badger. Okay.
This happened in 2021 when I was driving for Uber full-time. I live in a city that gets a lot of tourists, especially in the summer, so rideshare gigs can be decent money if you're consistent. I worked mostly nights, partly because I'm a night owl, and partly because it's less traffic and better tips from drunk passengers coming back from bars. The night this happened, it was around 1:30 in the morning, a pretty normal Saturday night crowd. I had just dropped off a group of college kids who wouldn't stop yelling in the back of my car, so I was glad to get a request that looked quieter. The name said Chris, and the pickup location was a small side street just off downtown. The weird thing was, the pin was in kind of an odd area, not near any bars or apartments, more like near the back lot of an old strip mall. But I figured maybe it was just a bad GPS marker. It happens sometimes. I drove over and saw a guy standing at the corner, hoodie on, jeans, staring down at his phone. I pulled up and said, "Chris?" He nodded and got in the back without saying much. He didn't smell like alcohol or slur his words. He seemed sober and just really quiet. He didn't say hello, nor did he answer when I asked how his night was going. Some people just aren't talkers, so I didn't think much of it.
It's 1 a.m. though, so you
started the ride, and the drop-off was on the opposite side of town, 25 minutes away, in a suburban neighborhood I'd been to maybe once or twice before. The thing was, it was dark out there, like no streetlights in some areas. Pretty isolated. I noticed about 5 minutes into the trip that Chris had his phone out, but he wasn't texting or calling anyone. He was holding it flat in his lap with the flashlight on, just shining the beam upward, slightly toward my seat. I asked him kind of half joking, "Everything all right back there?" He just mumbled, "Yeah," and then turned the flashlight off. The next 20 minutes were dead silent, just the hum of the engine and a weird tension building in the car. I don't know how to describe it. Something just felt off about this guy. Not threatening, but definitely unsettled, like he wasn't really there. We got to the neighborhood, and I followed the GPS to the house. But as we pulled up, I noticed it was totally dark. No porch light, no inside lights, nothing. I asked, "This the right place?" Chris didn't answer. He just sat there. I turned around and looked at him. I repeated myself a little louder, saying, "Hey, is this it?" He stared past me out the window. I repeated myself one more time, and finally he nodded. So I put the car in park and said, "Have a good night."
Oh, okay, you know what I would do? I would just drive up to that GPS location, put the car in park, and be like, "Sir, this is the location on GPS. Is that everything tonight?" "Yep, it is," and then leave. You asked him 3 times before you put the car in park. Okay. Not the best move, but, you know, 20 minutes of silence. He's obviously just... It's 1 a.m. as well.
He didn't move. He just sat there. So I asked again, "Are you good?" He finally reached for the handle and stepped out, but he didn't close the door. He just stood outside the car with the door open, facing the house. I sat there waiting. A few seconds passed, then 20, and then a full minute. I was just about to say something when he suddenly turned around, looked at me through the open door and said, "I need to go back." I blinked and said, "Back where?" He said, "Where you picked me up." His tone was flat with no emotion. I didn't know what to say. That was a 25-minute drive, and it wasn't like I could just reverse the trip. I told him he'd have to request a new ride, but he just stared at me. He begged me, saying, "Please, I need to go back." I told him again, "You need to request it through..."
Man, it's like 1 a.m. at this point, bro. He's obviously not in... Yeah. Man, this Uber driver, Karen, you gotta put it through the app. Just put him back. Oh, you're cooked, man. I don't see any kind of... Yeah, you're cooked, buddy. You gotta just be like, "Yeah, okay, cool. Get in the car, let's go." And then just drive him to the spot. And that's it, done. Mission done. GG. It's over.
Through the app. That's when he said something that sent chills up my spine. He said, "I can't. They're not gone yet." My only response could be,
"It is what it is."
"Who's not gone?" He didn't answer. He just stood there, still holding the door open, and I noticed he was breathing heavily. At that point, I started getting seriously uncomfortable. I said, "Look, I can't just start a new ride unless you request it." He stared for another second, then slowly backed away and closed the door. He walked toward the house, even though it was pitch black and looked empty. I waited until he got to the porch before I pulled off. The moment I turned the corner, I ended the trip in the app and started heading back toward downtown. A couple blocks down, I stopped at a 24-hour gas station to use the bathroom and get a drink. I parked at the side of the building, went inside, and came back out maybe 4 minutes later. And when I got back to my car, I felt like my brain short-circuited. Chris was sitting in the back seat, same hoodie and same expression. I thought I had locked the doors before going inside, but somehow he was in the back of the car. I opened the driver's side door and stepped back in slowly, keeping my eye on him through the mirror. "How did you get back in?" I asked. He just said, "Take me back." I said, "I'm calling the cops," and reached for...
It's over. Why would you do that? If that actually happened, somehow he got into the car? Wait, that doesn't make sense. You peeled off the driveway, go to the gas station for 4 minutes, and the man's in your car. How does that even work? Unless he's like as fast as the car, or you were lying about how long you were at the gas station for, which I'm assuming he might be lying about being in the gas station for 4 minutes. Yeah, because like there's no way he would be able to be in a car. You know what I mean? Like, unless he's actually as fast as a car, or he sprinted. The Uber driver lying. He was not in the gas station for 4 minutes if Chris is in the car. That's just not... It doesn't work like that. And why would you say I'm calling the cops? Because... GG, he's dead. Yeah, the storyteller's definitely lying though. Ain't no way he said 4 minutes only. Because that's impossible for Chris to get back in the car. Unless, yeah. Even if he sprint... Yeah, he definitely took a dookie. He took a dump. He took a dump. He lied about the 4 minutes. He probably ended for like 30 minutes. So Chris managed to walk all the way there. Or like at least jog or run. So Uber driver lying. And now you're calling the cops. Yeah. Bro, he's in the car already. You're cooked. What are you going to do? What are you going to do in that situation? Like, why would you confront the man? He's in your car. Just walk back to the gas station if you see him in your car. Like, what? You see him in your car and you decide to get back in anyways. And then say, I'm gonna call the police. What? If you see him in a car and you don't want him there, then why don't you just not into the car? You just walk back in the gas station, call the cops, saying that somebody's in my car. But instead, you see him in the car, you go inside the car, get in, and then ask, and then instantly tell him to go, and then instantly say you're gonna call the what? This Uber driver is stupid. He lying about he definitely took a dump in the gas station. You know what I mean, chat? He definitely took a dump in the gas station. And then you're lying. Why would you go back in the car if you don't want it?
For my phone. That's when he leaned forward, close enough for me to hear his breath, and said, "They're still in the house." I don't know why, but I didn't call the police. Something about the way he said that made me feel like he was having some kind of episode. I played along and said, "Whose house is that?" And he said, "My parents." I asked him if he lived there, and he said not anymore. That made the hairs stand up on my neck. I started slowly driving back to where I picked him up.
W?
Every part of me was screaming not to do it, but I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah, exactly.
As we got closer, he started breathing heavier. He was rocking slightly in the back seat. At one point, he whispered, "They're still there. They won't leave, no matter what I do." When we pulled up to the house, there were still no lights, still no signs of anyone living there. He got out without saying anything and then walked up to the front door and stood there. He didn't knock or anything, he just stood still. I waited maybe 30 seconds, then pulled away again, making damn sure the doors were locked. I drove 3 blocks, parked under a streetlight, and sat there for 10 minutes trying to process what just happened.
What?
I debated calling the cops, but what would I even say? That a guy got into my car twice and said weird things? There was no crime technically as far as I knew.
Wait, so he drove 3 blocks away, parked under a street light. What is a block? So he drove away, parked 3 blocks away, parked under a street light for 10 minutes? Thinking about if you should call the police or not? Bro, Chris is gonna appear again. GG.
So I just drove home and didn't sleep that night.
Okay.
The next day, I reported the ride to Uber. And honestly, I regretted not reporting this to the police because the man might have been sick in the head needing help. I hope he didn't hurt anyone. Who knows if that house was even really his parents' house, or if he actually was just having a manic episode.
That was it? That was such a bad story. That was bad. Not gonna lie. That was pretty bad. Definitely made some mistakes there. I'm not gonna lie. He did make some mistakes. You know? He did make some mistakes. Oh. I mean, like I said, what do you expect? You know, you're doing Uber driver at night. Well, what do you expect? You know what I mean? What do you expect? You're gonna obviously pick up some weirdos. Well, not weirdos, but, well, you know. Alright, next story then. That it is what it is. Next one, let's go. Story 3. Let's see. This is good so far. No, not really.
I'm an 18-year-old girl that lives alone in my apartment with...
18-year-old girl living alone. That's not good. What? Living alone in an apartment. 18-year-old girl. GG. Apartment? What? Why you live with your parents? You're 18 years old. What you doing? What? That's already a flaw in the system. 18-year-old girl in an apartment alone. Why? Why would you do that? Like, do you not have a single friend to be, like, dorming with? You know what I mean? Or, like, live with your parents? Why are you in the apartment alone? You're cooked. You're an 18-year-old girl. What's wrong with you? She cooked already. GG.
my dog.
Okay, with a dog. I should have played this story a bit more. Okay. You know, with a dog, it depends on the dog, but at least you got company. Okay, that makes it a bit better. A dog is good.
I live about 8 miles out of town, so getting food delivered can be a hassle sometimes.
Apartment out of town? Huh? Chat. This is already looking bad. What? Out of town. Apartment out of town. I thought apartments are only in town.
I never thought anything of Uber Eats being bad. You may hear some stories, but never think they will happen to you. At least that's what I thought.
But you're an 18-year-old girl. Dude, that's not... Oh, that's not good, bro. Well, it really depends. But... nah. You're an 18-year-old girl alone with a dog. I mean... How else are you gonna get food? It really depends on how you pick up the food. If you're doing Uber Eats. If I was an 18-year-old girl getting Uber Eats, I would just tell the driver to leave it at the front door. Don't even reveal that you're a girl. That's step 1. Do not reveal that you're alone. Step 2. And pretty much don't like accept the food hand on hand. Tell the Uber driver, if you're a 18-year-old girl living alone in an apartment out of town, first off, if I ever do Uber delivery or Uber pickup, I would tell the driver through the app, leave the food at the front door, thanks, get a Ring camera or some kind of camera, watch the front door, and then watch the delivery, like basically stand or sit on the couch right next to the door, right? Get your phone out, watch the camera, wait for the Uber driver to put the food down, look at who the Uber driver is first, okay? Make sure on the app you have specific notes saying, leave food at front door, thanks. Don't like pick it up yourself because you are an 18-year-old girl living alone. Why would just don't reveal that you're an 18 just don't reveal that you're a girl alone, period, if you're doing Uber Eats, right? So just tell the driver to leave it at the front door. Have a Ring camera installed or something. Keep an eye on it. Wait for the Uber driver to put the food down, right? And then wait for the Uber driver to leave in the car. And then when the coast is clear, you can quickly open the door and grab the food. You know what I mean? Don't open the door and then like... Bro, I bet the story goes like this. I'm already going to predict the story here. I'm an 18-year-old girl living in an apartment. I get Uber Eats. I'm living out of town. Okay, and then the Uber driver come with my food. I open the door. I say, oh, thanks for the food. And then the Uber driver is going to say, he's going to look at her be like, you living alone? Oh, yeah, I'm living alone. Okay, you're dead now, GG. Like, what? Oh, that's exactly what's going to happen in the story. I bet that's what's going to happen. The Uber driver is going to see that it's a girl. Number 1, and then he's gonna ask some questions, and then the girl's gonna, I live alone. I'm 18. I live alone. You're dead. GG. What's wrong with you? Yeah, no. If you're a girl living alone with Uber Eats or some kind of delivery thing, right? You gotta just hide that you're like, just hide who you are. It's just honestly, I'm not trying to be sexist. I'm trying to be safe. But like, yeah, you probably just don't want to shoot. Just tell them to leave it at the front door. Don't pick it up hand to hand. Don't even speak to oh, you're cooked. You know what I mean, chat? They're cooked. They are unbelievably cooked. You know what I mean? Whoever's still watching, like, it is what it is. They're cooked. They are so cooked. Alright, let's see the story. Yeah. Okay, lock in.
It was Friday evening. I was cleaning my apartment, getting ready for my boyfriend to come over.
Okay, boyfriend coming over?
We're long distance, so I only get to see him on weekends, so I usually try to get it cleaned up before he arrives on Saturday. I had been cleaning for about 2 hours, and it was past 6 p.m., so I was feeling hungry. I didn't want to dirty any dishes, as I just cleaned them all and cleaned the kitchen. I decided to order food so I wouldn't have to make a mess. I ordered my food and got the notification that my driver was on his way and driving a white Honda Fit Sport. I'm a young girl living on my own, so I have my delivery instructions set to leave my order at my door for contactless delivery.
Smart. Okay. Okay, that's smart. Damn, that's super smart. Okay, good on you. Contactless delivery. Smart. Okay. Okay, that's smart. That's good.
I was sitting in my living room watching TV when I got the notification that my food was delivered. As soon as I got that notification, I jumped up, eager to get my food. I was starving. When I opened the door to grab my food,
the guy
wasn't there, so I thought maybe he set it at the wrong door. But looking down at all the doors, none of them had the food at them. So I went back in and was gonna message him when I heard a knock at my door. It was my next door neighbor. He was holding my food.
Wait, go back, go back.
It was my next door neighbor. He was holding my food. He said, "Hey, sorry, I picked up your food from your delivery driver because he was looking through your windows, and I wasn't sure what he was doing." I took the food and thanked him, wondering what the hell just happened. I went back in, ate my food, and enjoyed a movie when I started to get ready for bed. I took a shower, then went to turn off my TV and make sure all my doors were locked before.
Who's the neighbor there? Oh, this is bad. This is bad. Oh, there's too much out of context things. Was the windows open? Was the curtains closed? Who's the neighbor? You know what I mean? Way too much out of context. I don't have enough context to think about the situation properly. How did you know it was your neighbor to begin with? Like, too much out of context. Who's your neighbor? One, that matters a lot, right? Oh, that's too hard. That's too much out of context stuff. I can't analyze that properly. Who's your neighbor? How did you not know the person was looking at your window? Or like, that's why you needed some kind of security camera or some kind of vision. Like, how would you know it was your neighbor knocking at the door anyways? You had to open the door to see, right? GG. Imagine if imagine if she checked, right? There was no food. She went back inside. She's about to message the driver, and then the door knocked, right? And then it was actually the Uber driver. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes, you know, if you're Uber driver, you send a notification, right? And then, while you send a notification, you walk towards it. This story's cooked.
Before going to bed. I laid down in bed, called my boyfriend, and eventually ended up falling asleep. I woke up a few times during the night to my dog growling at the window or the back door. My dog isn't a huge, scary dog. He's a small 5-pound Morkie.
Morgie dog, what is that? Oh my goodness, 5-pound that dog? GG. Oh, Morkie, is that what it is? Oh, she cooked now. 5-pound? Oh, GG. What kind of dog? GG. That dog gonna die. Oh, it's over for her. She gone, bro. GG. The Uber driver looked through the window, found out that it was Dude. That's why you need context on the neighbor too. What if the neighbor revealed the information? That's why it's like hard to know. Like, imagine if the neighbor was like, I bet I don't trust anybody. Like, it depends on who the neighbor is. Imagine if the neighbor was like, oh yeah, next girl lives, you know, an 18-year-old alone girl. And the Uber driver's like, oh, thanks to know. Ha ha ha. GG. He's out, the Uber driver's outside.
But it's still pretty scary when he growls at something and catches you off guard. I finally got him to calm down and go back to sleep. It wasn't even 15 minutes later that I woke up to banging on my window.
GG.
My dog started going crazy, barking, growling, and even whimpering. I couldn't move in my bed. I took the bed sheets and pulled them over my head, just leaving enough to not cover my eyes so I could see the window. I called the police and whispered into the phone quietly. I explained to the operator that someone is in my backyard and my window doesn't lock so it can easily be lifted up.
What?
She
What? GG.
told me to go to a different room and police would be at my apartment shortly. I ran to my kitchen and grabbed a knife, just waiting to see blue and red lights or hear sirens. It felt like forever. I looked out the window of my kitchen and never expected to see what I saw. The Uber driver's car that delivered my food. His car was sitting across the street from my apartment. When you open the door to my apartment, there's a large open field to the left that's used for parking trailers and letting dogs play. He was parked there, but I didn't see anyone in the car. I put two and two together and thought to myself, he's in my backyard. The police finally arrived. I could barely even speak. I was shaking and crying. I explained to one officer what happened, while the other went to check out my backyard, which is where my bedroom window is. Another officer who arrived went to check his car because it was still in the field, but he wasn't in his car. The two officers came back and started talking with the officer I was speaking to, telling her there's footprints in my backyard, which it had just rained the night before, so it was very muddy outside. I started panicking once I heard that, not just because that's not what you want to hear, but also because where was this guy if he didn't come back arrested with the cops and wasn't in his car? My neighbor came outside to see what was going on. The officers explained to him what was happening. Then he spoke about how he picked up my food for me earlier that day. The neighbor invited me to sleep over at his apartment for the night if it made me.
The neighbor's in on it. The neighbor's in on it. What? Did you just hear that? Oh my goodness, this is so bad.
Feeling earlier that day. The neighbor invited me
to
sleep over at his
apartment. You're an 18-year-old girl. What are you doing? What are you doing? You're an 18-year-old girl living alone. You're friends with the neighbor, and he's a guy, and he just offered you to sleep in his apartment
for the night if it made me feel any better. Oddly, I passed on the offer, and when all the cops left, I went back into my...
What? The neighbor's on it. Chat. The neighbor's in on it. Wait, is Mobius still open? I can't tell. The neighbor's in on it. Wait. Okay, so is the car still outside? And the cops left? And you decide you just decide everything's okay now. Wait, let's go back.
Better. Oddly, I passed on the offer, and when all the cops left, I went back into my apartment. Thinking it was all over, I took a few hours to get comfortable enough to fall asleep. But at 2 a.m., I woke up to banging on my front door.
What? 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 That is so dumb. Wait. So, the Uber car's still outside. There's footsteps in your backyard. Okay, the police left. You're gonna just decide to stay... You're just gonna decide to stay in there. Bro, you just passed... She deserves it, not gonna lie. At this point, she deserves it. Excuse me, if that... In that scenario, why don't you ask the cops to drive you somewhere safer? Like say, oh, I don't feel comfortable staying here. I'm an 18-year-old girl alone. There's the Uber... you haven't even caught the guy yet. He's probably still around. My neighbor's a creep. Can you drive me to my parents' house? Or like at least call your boyfriend saying, yo, come over now ASAP. Or can you come pick me up? Or call your parents saying, hey, can I go Why would you stay there? And why would you try to go back to sleep? Why would you even consider that an option to go back to sleep? What? Oh, she 100% deserves whatever happens to her at this point. That is dumb. Dude, actual, like, just no brains. You know what I mean, chat? No brains. She did. Why would you stay in... Bro, that's like the dumbest thing ever. Why would... Okay, the police leave, right? You just decide everything's okay now? Because I couldn't find a dude? It's totally not like the guy could just walk away for a bit, come back in an hour or so. Which he's obviously doing right now, GG.
Door and heard police. There's no way...
She's cooked, that's not the police. That ain't the police, bro.
This is happening right now, I thought to myself.
That not the police, is it?
I got up and went to my front door, scared to open it. It was the woman I spoke to earlier. She explained they stayed at my apartment, hidden to watch for that guy, in case he...
There'll be policemen.
Showed back up, and he did. They caught him walking up to my front door, thinking he was going to try to find a way in. My heart fell to my stomach when I heard her say that. She then explained he was arrested, and I don't have to worry about him anymore.
Dude, W police officers. W police officers, man. Oh, W police... Yo. Yo, that is clutch. I'm not gonna lie. The police officers are smart. Yo, police officers are real for that one. They stayed around. They knew it. Yo, that's good on them. Not gonna lie. W police officers, man. That's actual W police officers. They stayed around. I was gonna say, like, they really just left? No, they stayed around. Yo, W police officers, man. Hey. Yo, that girl dumb though, for real. She really thought everything was gonna be okay.
I thanked her and went back to try and sleep. Unfortunately, I couldn't fall asleep this time. I also don't use Uber Eats anymore when I'm home alone.
Yo, W police officers. Chat, W police officers, you know what I'm saying? Actual W police officers. Yo, those police officers are W. W police officers, man, what can I say? W police officers. They stayed around. They knew that the girl was not the greatest, not the smartest in the bunch, you know what I mean? W police officer, hey. Hey, W police officer. I am freezing still. I am still freezing in here, but you know what? This is kind of cool. You know, I kind of like streaming this. This is kind of cool. I get to talk a lot. This is kind of good. Okay, last story, and then we're going to go to another one, yeah? This is good so far. No, not really. They're dumb. By Austin, so it's a guy.
I was 26 at the time, and I'm male.
26 male, okay, bit.
I was in Washington, D.C. on a sort of vacation visiting my then fiancée. I'll call her Sarah for the sake of the story. I was visiting for a graduation she was having for her basic training. It was a big deal for her family, and she asked me to be there for it, so I said why not and booked a flight to be there. I'd be arriving about a week before the rest of her family, so she and I could have some time, just the two of us, before she would be busy with having all of her family there for the occasion. She stayed with me at my hotel during this time, and eventually, we decided we wanted to go and explore some of the nearby historical sites that Washington had to offer. I'd never been there, of course, so the idea piqued my interest, and we decided to do it. Once we arrived at our location, we spent about 4 hours walking around and seeing all the sites. From the Lincoln Memorial to the Washington Monument, the Congress Building, and even the White House. It really was a fun and exciting experience for myself to see all these places, as I had missed out on going on a school trip in high school to visit them. Sarah at the time seemed to appreciate my interest in them as well, and we really enjoyed ourselves. After we finally decided we had enough walking around and were ready to return to the hotel, we used the Uber app to call for a ride. We had used it earlier to arrive and had no
Okay. 26-year-old male with a girlfriend. You know, traveling around, okay? Called an Uber to the hotel. Pretty standard.
issues, so we decided to just use it again for the ride back. Sarah made the request on her phone while I sat down under some shade and waited. I was pretty tired from all the walking we did, and I could feel my body just ready to get back to the hotel for a long-needed nap. Eventually, after about 10 minutes of waiting, a car pulled up in front of us along the side of the road. Sarah motioned for me that this was the car, as the place they stopped at was not a parking spot or a place a car would just stop at on its own. I stood up and followed her to the car, where she opened the back door and stepped inside, asking the man, "Uber for Sarah?" And he gave a slight nod without saying anything, stepped inside on its own. I stood up and followed her to the car, where she opened the back door and stepped inside, asking the man, "Uber?"
I thought drivers are the one to ask first. No? Oh, it's GG, this ain't the Uber driver, is it? You know what I mean? Did this story really just say she opened the door and asked if he was the Uber driver? I thought there's a policy where it's the Uber driver who has to announce he's the driver first. Because if it's the passenger who asks the driver first, the driver can obviously lie. And like, oh my, I'm pretty sure that's a policy, right? That's a policy. The passenger never asks the person if they're an Uber driver or not. The driver themselves. Wait, but then they could also be reversed. Because imagine if an Uber driver goes up to a person and say, "Are you Sarah?" And then if it's not Sarah, but they lie, say, "Yeah, that's me." Wait, how does that even work then? Because it can go bad for both ways, you know what I mean, chat? I think it'd be more riskier if you're the, because if you're the driver, right, how do you know if you're picking up the right person? You know what I mean? But then you also have to risk if you're the person using the Uber, if you're going in the right car. But shouldn't it like tell you on the app what kind of car it is? Lock in.
For Sarah, and he gave a slight nod without saying anything. So I followed her into the car and shut the door behind me. Now looking back on this, I realized how stupid both her and myself were in doing this. We should have asked for the driver's name and verified the car was a match to the one on the app. I didn't have access to any of this myself, and she made the request on her phone, so it didn't really cross my mind at the time to do any of this. As we both sat in the back of the car, which was a gray-colored minivan, the driver didn't speak to us. I found this a bit odd, as any other driver I'd ever had would at the very least greet me once I entered or confirmed
GG, it's not the Uber driver.
my name. But this guy, nothing. He started driving without acknowledging either of us, other than the nod he gave when Sarah asked him if he was our Uber. And I did pick up on how weird it was, but I was tired and didn't really feel like trying to engage with the man myself. I laid my head back and just closed my eyes.
GG, they did.
I then felt a tap on my arm from Sarah after what felt like only 5 minutes of the drive.
He fell asleep in the car?
I opened my eyes and looked at her, and she didn't speak to me. I could see the look on her face was one of worry, and it had me wondering what exactly she was concerned about.
Yeah, you sleeping in the car, buddy. What? Yeah. What? You fell asleep? What? Oh my goodness, this guy's a loser. Oh my goodness. What an absolute loser. Yo, you're supposed to be protecting your girl. You're not even the driver, and you fall asleep in the Uber car? Because you're tired from walking for a few hours? What a loser.
To her phone, which was showing the route the Uber would take to drive us back to our hotel.
They're not going the right route.
It didn't take me long to realize that the way we were going was
It's not.
not the way the route had said. In fact, it was the opposite way. I could see Sarah's face drain with color shortly after, when a notification popped up on her phone saying our Uber had arrived, followed by a message from the driver asking where we were.
Yeah,
My heart sank into the pit of my stomach. It was then I realized how dumb I was by not verifying the car and driver.
And you fell asleep in the car. Are you stupid? Oh my goodness. They deserve 100%. What a loser, dude. Oh my goodness. He fell asleep in the car.
Where we just both stepped in. The picture that was on Sarah's phone within the app did not match the driver, and I knew we had gotten ourselves into a situation. I slowly looked back towards the driver, but I didn't say anything. I didn't know what this man's intentions were, or what he was capable of, and honestly, I didn't want to find out. I just knew at that moment, I had to get both Sarah and I out of that car. I leaned forward and told the man that we had changed our minds and would be fine just being let out where we were in an attempt to get us out of the situation without alarming the man of what we knew. He glanced at me through the rearview mirror in the first actual acknowledgement of us he had given since we stepped into the vehicle. I caught his glance as he stared at me without saying a word in what felt like minutes, but was probably only 10 seconds. He didn't stop the car though. He didn't even say a word in response to me, and just kept driving the car as if nothing had been said. My patience had run out, and I knew whatever this man had in store for us wasn't good. I then did the only thing I could think of at that moment, and reached into my pocket, pulling out my pocket knife. I flipped the blade out,
Mans.
and without wasting another second, I told the driver, I know you're not our Uber driver. I don't know what your plan is here, or what you think you're about to do to us, but I have a knife, and if you don't pull this car over right now, I have no problem using it. The driver's eyes quickly looked at me again within the rearview mirror, and I knew he could see the knife gripped tightly in my hand. He quickly pulled the van over, and I heard the doors unlock. Sarah and I wasted no time in getting out of that car as fast as—
Mans. I mean, you're still retarded though for sleeping, but you know what? Hey, pulling out a knife? That's pretty G, I'm not gonna lie.
we could. The moment we were both out, the man sped off. We quickly took a moment to gather ourselves as Sarah was having a panic attack, and I myself was still wrapping my head around what the hell just happened.
Yo, Mans. Okay, he kind of redeemed a tiny bit, but still a bit stupid. But like, you know what? Hey, W Mans though, pulling out a knife. That's pretty G. And I guess the driver knew that, you know, he's the driver, so he really can't do anything about it. He can slit his throat ASAP.
Sarah quickly pulled out her phone and responded to our actual Uber driver and informed him of our location and asked if he could come pick us up. The actual driver arrived within a few minutes, and this time we made sure it was the right one. We told him everything that had happened, and it was then that he informed us something that made the blood in my veins go cold. He told us there had been multiple instances recently where people were posing as Uber drivers in the area, as it was an easy way to find many tourists and people not from the area that wouldn't think twice about just getting into a car thinking it was a Lyft or Uber. Apparently, many people had gone missing and they could only assume the worst. He told us both we were lucky we noticed when we did and hadn't gotten further away from where we had been.
Yeah, but you're still stupid for sleeping in the car. Like the...
picked up, which was probably the only reason the man let us go, and of course the fact that I was armed.
Yeah, facts. No, he literally got out because he had a knife. That's literally the only reason, and he wasn't afraid of using it. That's literally the only reason he's alive. It's because he pulled out the knife and said that he will use it. You know what I mean?
To the hotel without issue, and we quickly reported it to the police. We gave the best description of the man and the car that we both could, and the police told us they'd call us with any information they could find. We never heard back from them, so I assumed the man was...
Yo, that was kinda good. No, not really. Bro, that was insane. Alright, let's do another one, yeah? Stalker horror stories? You know what? These might be that. Yeah, I'm not sure if these are good or not. What do you guys think? It says 2 people watching now, but no one's saying anything in the chat. Okay, it is what it is. Dude, so far, it's pretty interesting. I'm not gonna lie. You know? Alright, lock in. Let's do another one, yeah? That was kind of good. Stalker horror stories. Ooh, okay. Stalker horror stories. Stalkers, alright. Let's go. Anonymous.
When I was 22, I started seeing a guy who I met on a dating app for a while. His name was Hunter. We went on like 4 dates in the span of a little...
Oh, that siren's outside, not in the video. Oh, we good.
over a month. At first, things...
The siren's still outside. What's going on? Hold on, chat. I'll be back real quick. Hold on. Let me just be back real quick. I need to go to the bathroom. Oh, it's cold, but you know what? This is so far not a bad stream. I can talk and stuff. Locked in, chat. Not sure who's actually watching, but what's up, Poacher? Yo, what's good? Hi, Poacher. Alright. We're gonna continue the stalker thing. You know what I mean? Alright, lock in. Very true, scary stalker horror things. Alright, lock in.
seemed all right. Our first date was a quick coffee date, less than an hour. More of a screening process to make sure he seemed normal. Our second date was at a nearby bar for some drinks. We both got a nice buzz, and it was a nice time. Our third date was dinner, and this was when I started to question things. questioned if I really clicked with his personality or if I felt like there was something slightly off about him. The date ended with a kiss still, the first and only time we ever kissed, so I convinced myself that because I let him kiss me, things went alright. It wasn't until a couple weeks later that we went on our fourth and final date. We went out for drinks once again.
Wait, let's go back real quick. What? Huh? Wait, what?
We went on our... Let him kiss me, things went alright.
Okay, so y'all kissed on the third date.
It wasn't until a couple weeks later...
A couple weeks later, you had the fourth date? What? What? What do you mean a couple weeks later? Oh my goodness. That's more over than... What? Y'all kissed and then stopped seeing each other for 2 weeks before you went on the fourth date. What? That's already over.
Later that we went on our fourth and final date. We went out for drinks once again. However, this time I went into it with a less excited mindset, and I was paying more attention to little quirks in his behavior that I realized were kind of unusual. It's hard to explain exactly what I mean, but some of his mannerisms just gave off antisocial and borderline creepy vibes. He started to drink way too much on this date as well, and he started getting really touchy-feely at the bar, trying to kiss multiple times. I'm not a fan of PDA, especially not when sitting at a bar with people next to me.
What was PDA? What the hell's PDA? What the hell's PDA?
I politely turned down his advances, and within a few minutes, I mentioned I was tired, heavily implying we should leave. He asked for the check, paid it, and then we grabbed our coats and left. As we were walking to our cars, he stopped me and very bluntly asked me if we could go home together. I said not tonight, I'm tired and have work tomorrow, which was a lie. He shockingly kept trying, saying he'd drive me to work tomorrow and such. I found it to be absurd.
He's trying to smash.
Whether he was drunk or not. I also wasn't a fan of him drunk driving home. I made the decision at that point that I wouldn't see him again. I went to my car in the parking lot across the street and started driving home slowly, just because I had a couple drinks in my system. I wasn't drunk, but I was still very cautious. I was also overly alert of my surroundings, looking around for cops, which perhaps is why I picked up on the fact that the same car was behind me still after I made at least 3 turns. And at a certain stoplight, I realized it looked like Hunter's car. I texted him, "Are you following me?" He texted back pretty quickly, saying, "Yes, I just want to make sure you get home okay."
This whole scenario is just scuffed. Jeez, wow. Is that W mans for following him or not? I can't... Why are you both drunk driving? Nah, but he kinda creepy for following her though, not gonna lie. Not kinda, that is pretty creepy. Cause obviously she ain't into it. Oh yeah, this guy's a GG.
I called him, but he wouldn't pick up. This was so weird, and quite frankly creepy. I pulled over and texted him to stop following me, I'm fine. He stopped in the middle of the street for a second. I presumed to read my texts, and then he drove off past me. He didn't text back, not until I got home and was in bed. He said as follows, "I hope I didn't weird you out tonight. Sorry I got so drunk. Next time we should do something a little more low-key, like dinner at my place or something."
He's still trying to smash.
I didn't answer. So the next morning, he followed up with, "Oh no, is the vibe dead?"
Yeah,
I still decided to wait a bit to respond. Not even 2 hours later, he sends me a question mark. So I decided to reply now before it got worse. I said, "Hey, I had a great time getting to know you, but I just think our personalities don't click that much. I also really just want to focus on myself right now. I hope you understand." After this was when the angry text started coming in.
GG.
The worst of which being, "No, I don't understand. You strung me along for 4 dates to tell me that? How about you pay me back half of everything I bought for you then?" There were a few other angry texts that involved personal information, so I'm not going to include them, but they were enough to prompt me to block him. I thought this would be the end of it, but then I started receiving no caller ID phone calls non-stop. I ignored all of them until he finally seemed to get the message and stopped. The next day, when my parents weren't home, I got home from work to find a bouquet of flowers on the stoop along with a card. The card was an apology.
GG. GG. That's so GG, chat. Oh my goodness. So I'm assuming that he knows where she lives. This guy's got no options. He's so... Ah, man. What would you even do? I don't even know what you would do in this situation.
From Hunt.
Wait, if I was a girl, what would I even do in this situation? I'm assuming you gave the man his address already. But you blocked him? Okay, so he said he wants half of everything back. What would you even do in this situation? If you're a girl? Bro, that is... I don't even know what you do. There's so many wrong things on both sides. You know what I mean? Like, one, why is the 4th date 2 weeks in between the 3rd date? Like, what? And obviously this Hunter guy, he got no options. Because if I was a Hunter guy, right? Bruh, just, like, go next. Like, why are you even trying to... Obviously, they're not interested, but... In this story, it seems like she's the A side, and he's the B side, and he's a down bad, stalking simp. Oh, it's bad on both... Oh, GG.
Sir, asking for a second chance. He somehow knew where I lived. That...
Oh, so you didn't tell him where you lived? Oh, you didn't tell him where you lived? So he just found out? Oh, now you're dead. GG.
That disturbed me. In his mind, he somehow must have thought that this would come off as charming or sweet, when in reality it was extremely alarming.
GG.
I sent a long and final text to him to please not contact me anymore, and never come to my house again, or I'd file for a restraining order. I kept his number blocked so I wouldn't see his response.
What?
I thought things would be over now, but I couldn't be more wrong. It was not long after this that I was home alone for the night. My parents' house is big, and I had a loft bedroom, which meant my bedroom was the highest point in the house. I awoke in the middle of the night to something. I wasn't sure what it was at first, but I felt as though I was hearing noises from downstairs. I tried my best to listen closely, and then I heard what was very obviously a door opening from outside my bedroom. One of the upstairs doors. Nobody was supposed to be home that night. Even in my haze from freshly waking up, I still immediately thought intruder. I crawled out of my bed onto the floor and shimmied under the bed.
What?
Before calling 911, I texted everyone in my family asking who was home. I heard some distant noises from somewhere in the home, one of the other bedrooms. And then my bedroom door opened, and footsteps came up the carpeted stairs. After they reached the top step, there was silence. The whole room is carpeted, so I couldn't hear any potential footsteps. And then I heard the drawers next to my bed begin opening.
GG.
I held my mouth with my hands to mask my breathing. I could feel my heart racing. I heard a man's voice say, "God fucking damn it," under his breath. In that moment, I thought, wait, that might have sounded like Hunter's voice.
It is Hunter.
I still didn't move, and I prayed my phone did not get any notifications now. I heard more rummaging sounds. He was going through my entire dresser. Then, I heard and felt the bed move as he sat down. I was staring at the outline of 2 shoes through the bed skirt.
GG.
Even in the dark, it was visible. I don't know what he was doing on the bed, but he sat there for over 2 or 3 minutes before getting up, and I heard him say under his breath, "Fucking bitch." I heard all the drawers close, and then I heard footsteps walk back down the stairs, the door shutting, and then sounds of footsteps walking down the stairs to the living room. I called 911 now, and I still whispered into the phone just to be safe. I stayed on the line and stayed under the bed for 10 to 15 minutes until one of the police officers showed up, and I went down to meet them at the front door, and even that was tense. After letting him in, I told him everything he didn't already know from the phone call he responded to. As such, he did a sweep of the house, and during that another officer arrived, this one female, who also assisted in the search. It turned out every window was unlocked, and one of the windows, the dining room one, is big enough for someone to crawl through, though I don't think anyone ever pictured someone squeezing through the bush in front of the window and then crawling through it. I gave a verbal statement of everything. I was given a report number and they left. When my parents returned home the next day, they already knew everything from my texts and phone call with them. We went to the police station with my report number and gave as much information as possible, such as text screenshots, including him admitting he was following me home. They said they'd investigate, though without solid proof it was him inside the house, it was tricky. I think the case lost steam when I really didn't have any proof of anything. I did, however, successfully get a restraining order against him, and I was advised to never accuse him of having broken in, nor ever contact him again. He thankfully didn't, but from that point till the moment I moved out of my parents' house, I was always uncomfortable he would be creeping around outside. Even today, I sometimes fear he might find out where I currently live.
Wait, so how did he get in the house? The window was just unlocked? I don't know about that kind. I don't know about these true horror stalking stories. I don't know what you can really do about them, not gonna lie. What can you really do about them? You know what I mean? It's like, these type of stories is kind of like, it is what it is, you know? Disturbing Discord users. Don't show my face.
This video is made for educational and entertainment purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised. Most people think of Discord as just a place to talk with friends, play games, or hang out in servers. But behind the usernames and profile pictures, some people take things too far. I'm talking about online cults, mental breakdowns, and tragedies that played out in real time with real consequences. Today, we will be getting into some disturbing Discord users whose stories will stick with you. If you're into this kind of content, please like and subscribe.
Why is the music vibey?
You know. Let's get into it.
Why the music vibey?
Menhaz.
What? Who's that? Who's that?
I've just slaughtered my entire family, and will most likely spend life in jail if I manage to survive. I hope I made you laugh at one point and another. I hope you remember the good times. I will miss you all.
What?
Maroon, Menhaz's friend, then sent the following messages. What? I just woke up.
What?
To which Menhaz replied with, I'm sorry. Do you want the pics?
What?
It was clear at this point the guilt had already set in. But how did this even happen? Menhaz had been part of a server which revolved
I don't care
around
about.
the
I don't care anymore. That's dumb. I don't care.
Restraining order against.
I like Mr. Nightmare. Mr. Nightmare's a lot better. Have better stories. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Let's try find a good one. What's a good one that has like good things to talk about? The Stalker one is kind of like, you know, what can you really do? You know what I mean? The Uber one's I like the Uber one. The Uber one's like, you know, okay, what's this one? Someone's outside horror story. I mean, that's really solved with just a compound and gates and, you know what I mean? When the police couldn't help. Ooh! Suburban. Rainy night horror stories. Countryside. Oh, I always like road trip ones. Yeah, let's do road trip ones. I like these ones. I like these ones. These ones are good. These ones are so good. These ones are good. Let's do this one. Story 1 by Marty. Let's go. Lock in, chat.
I need to provide some very brief context
Yep,
so
context.
the story makes sense.
I love context.
I go to a public university in California. It's part of the UC system. Some UCs like UCLA and Berkeley and Santa Barbara are much bigger, while others like mine are much smaller. Most of the big ones have their own version of what's known as a dedicated tour day, where all the incoming students go to that respective campus to tour it. But really, it's just an excuse for all the current students to throw crazy all-day parties. Berkeley's is called Cal Day, and Santa Barbara's is called Deltopia, just to give a few examples. Now, my campus is about a 2.5-hour drive from Santa Barbara, but it's sometimes customary for students from other campuses to make the drive to bigger schools for that one day. I've never really been one to party like that, so it was never something I did. But a few months ago, I realized it was my senior year and I'd never get the chance to go again. So when they asked me if I wanted to come with them to Santa Barbara's Deltopia, I decided to say screw it and just went. We drove down that Friday afternoon, the day before all the major festivities. The car was completely packed out. Hunter was driving, and the other friends joining us were Damon, Benjamin, and Armand. We're all above 6 feet tall, so the journey was painfully cramped, but it went by quickly with some good conversation and music. Once we got to Isla Vista, we spent the better part of an hour looking for parking with no luck. I'm not exaggerating about the parking situation. That's how popular Deltopia is. Just as we were about to give up, Hunter activated his charm and convinced a sorority girl to let us park in her designated spot. We all got a good chuckle out of that. So everything was going according to plan. Hunter's sister is a junior at UCSB, and she agreed to let us all crash on the floor of her apartment. That might sound a little ratchet to some, but during Deltopia, having a place to sleep is practically a golden ticket. Her and all of her—
What is Deltopia? What is even that? Deltopia. What is even that? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. There's one of these. Oh my. That context is important now, chat. So they're going to a Deltopia party, which looks like this. Oh, that's just disgusting. I have no sympathy for these people now. Zero sympathy for these people.
Her roommates were super chill, so we decided to party with them that night, even though Deltopia technically didn't start until the next morning. There's one more thing I have to mention. Hunter is a really friendly guy, and because of that, a ton of people know him. He has this one friend named Amir who's a little problematic. I'm using the word friend pretty generously here. Amir is one of those guys who clings to social circles without ever really being a part of them. He's insecure, loud, oblivious, constantly seeking validation, and somehow makes every conversation about himself. And before you call me out for gossiping, Amir has done a lot of messed up stuff to my friends and I in the past, so I've earned the right. Amir had mentioned to Hunter a while back that he was also going to Deltopia. There was never any real conversation about where he'd be staying or who he was going with. He wasn't part of our plan, and none of us had brought him up on the drive down. About an hour after the crew settled into Hunter's sister's place, we decided to make an alcohol run for ourselves and her roommates. As the 5 of us were leaving the liquor store with our purchases, who do we see but Amir, just standing there on the curb with his hands in his pockets. No one said anything. We just kept walking towards the apartment, and he sort of fell in step with us like he'd been there the entire time. The first thing out of Amir's mouth once we were a few blocks away from the store was, "Why are you guys so surprised to see me?" Was this kid brain dead? Of course we were surprised to see him. There was never any plan to meet up with Amir, let alone hang out with him. And as far as any of us knew, Hunter hadn't even told him where we were staying. We all kind of ignored him and just kept walking, unsure of how this was going to play out. Things immediately escalated once we got back to the apartment. Amir asked if he could use the bathroom at our apartment and then ran ahead of us when Hunter reluctantly agreed. When Hunter's sister answered the door, Amir walked right up to her and said, "I'm staying here," before stepping past her without waiting for a response. She obviously didn't know who Amir was, but just assumed he was part of our group. When Hunter realized Amir had lied to his sister, he was livid. I could go into extreme detail about what happened first, but here's all you need to know. Hunter told him straight up he had to leave, that he wasn't welcome there, and that lying to his sister was crossing a line. Amir didn't go quietly. He stood outside the door for another 20 minutes, trying to argue his way back in. Hunter's not the guy you want to mess around with, so Amir eventually took the hint and left. We got wasted after that, and admittedly, Amir was all any of us could talk about. We realized later that night that Hunter had been sharing his iPhone location with Amir, meaning Amir had stalked us to the apartment. But anyway, the next day was a blast. Deltopia certainly lived up to the hype. Most of the shenanigans were done by late afternoon, so we met up with 5 of
How is that even fun? Oh, what?
our other friends.
Deltopia looks disgusting. Yo, what's good? Sanjia Smith. Sorry, I can't really read the chat at the same time. I can only see it when I swap around because I am in the outdoor post, so we can't really play any games. We're just reacting to horror stories. So yeah, it is what it is, you know what I mean?
And the 10 of us found ourselves chilling back at Hunter's sister's apartment. We filled the rest of the guys in about the Amir situation, and they found it just as odd as we did. One of our other friends, Rylan, said he was pretty sure he had Amir's location. He immediately checked it, and his jaw actually dropped. He turned the phone towards us, and I swear to God, the little blue dot was showing up basically on top of us. As soon as we mentioned it though, the dot started moving away quickly, like Amir had been spying on us from a car and was now driving away. It was bizarre. Him showing up a second time was borderline psychotic, especially after Hunter had explained to him why he wasn't welcome there. We probably should have taken the whole thing more seriously than we did. That behavior was extreme, even for Amir. Instead, we all just laughed about his weird obsessiveness and continued partying. That night, after we had all crashed, I woke up randomly sometime well after midnight. I barely had time to process my surroundings when I heard glass shattering from somewhere deeper in the apartment. I shot up off the floor, looking around to see if anyone else was awake. No one was. Probably because everyone had gone to sleep completely wasted.
Oh my goodness.
I realized pretty quickly that no one else had heard it, and if someone had broken in, I was the only one who could do anything about it.
What is Amir doing?
I didn't have a weapon or anything, so I just grabbed an empty wine bottle off the floor, took a deep breath, and started creeping toward the noise. My heart was pounding. When I entered the living room, I saw the sliding door that led to the balcony had been completely shattered. A huge rock sat in the middle of the floor, surrounded by glinting shards of glass. I didn't need convincing. I knew Amir was behind it. I went to go wake my friends up.
Okay, but like, Amir, what are you gonna do, Amir? What are you gonna do? Murder them all? You know what I mean? Like, what's he gonna do? There's like 5 dudes in there, no? What are you gonna do? Shoot everyone up in there? What are you gonna do, Amir? What are you doing? What are you gonna do? Like, what are you gonna do? I have no sympathy for these people because, first of all, they're going to parties like these, so like, you know what I mean? So they're obviously going, they're all stupid anyways. If you're going here, you're dumb anyway, so like, what? No sympathy.
The corner of my eye, I saw a closet door handle jiggle a little. I froze, more scared than I had been just moments before.
Why are you scared?
I didn't think Amir had the guts to go beyond destroying property, and the thought that he had broken into the apartment terrified me.
It might not even be Amir.
I was just about to yank the closet door open when my better judgment forced me not to. Instead, I snuck back to the bedroom, woke Hunter up, and told him to back me up. The two of us walked towards the living room, but by the time we got there, the closet door was wide open.
And gone.
I looked around frantically, but I didn't see him. That's when Hunter reached into the closet and pulled out this massive kitchen knife. I stared in shock.
Whoa.
Amir had literally been standing behind the door with a knife,
What?
probably intending to injure me. He could have literally ended my life had I opened that closet door. That was the most horrifying moment of my life. Hunter and I woke the rest of the house up, and we did a sweep to be 100% sure that Amir was nowhere in the apartment. We obviously got the police involved, but all that really came of that was just getting a police report. They told us property tends to get destroyed during Deltopia.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding, because like I said, you're hanging out with these type of people. Bro, you're probably on drugs or like he's just emotional. No sympathy again.
Many victims.
But like I said, what is Amir gonna do? Huh?
Before you ask, Amir had stopped sharing his location with Rylan, so we couldn't even show the police that. We had to leave the next morning. Hunter was freaked out about leaving his sister and her roommates there, especially knowing that Amir had managed to sneak in there once already. Before we got in the car, he pulled out his phone and typed out this massive paragraph to Amir. I'm not going to air it out here, but you can guess what was said. The message never delivered though. Amir had already blocked him. We all pulled out our phones and realized we had all been blocked too. Over the next few weeks, none of us heard from him. It was like he had fallen off the map completely. I still can't wrap my head around all of this. As aggressive as Amir often pretends to be, he doesn't have a history of violence. In fact, I've always thought of him as a little passive. He knows where all of us live, so I'm still worried, even while writing this out, that he's gonna do something drastic. I'll send an update should something happen.
I can't trust that genuine. I can't trust that authenticity of that story. You know what I mean? Like, how do we know that the storyteller is telling the truth? You know? It's just hard to. I can't trust that story if it's real or not, because they admitted they were drinking and partying. The whole thing could just be fake. You know? You know what I mean, guys? Like, you can't actually tell if that story. I don't miss with that story, because it's one, it's at a dumbass party. Two, you guys aren't actually thinking properly. You guys are drunk with alcohol. You know, like, how do you even know it was actually Amir? You know, it's like, you just can't. That L story, man, I can't do much about, can't really say much about that, because, yeah. I mean, I don't know how many times I'm saying it, but like, just look at what Deltopia is. I got no sympathy, bro. Like, is this what Deltopia is? Because like, if that is the type of people you hang around with, like, how do you even trust that story? That looks disgusting. Oh my goodness. That's disgusting. Okay, next story. Next story, chat. Let's go, lock in. Next one. Story 2.
My name is Arthi. This happened a pretty long time ago, but I'd say I still remember about 90% of the details vividly. It was late April 1996.
1996?
I was fresh out of basic training. And
1996? What? Are you ancient, bro? Hold on now. 1996? Oh my goodness.
It was late April 1996. I was fresh out of basic training, and I had just been assigned to an airbase as a communications specialist in San Angelo, Texas. Being stationed in Texas was great for me. I'm originally from Mississippi, and part of the reason I enlisted in the first place was to get as far away from home as possible. I was 24 years old at the time. My closest friends on base were a guy named Seabass and a girl named Kay. I've since lost touch with them, but back then the three of us were inseparable. It was a warm weekend, sometime in early April, when Seabass proposed taking a road trip to Austin for the day to experience a change of scenery. Kay and I were also getting sick of the base life monotony, so we agreed. Kay offered to drive, so we packed her SUV with our stuff and hit the road that same afternoon. About an hour into the drive, we were on a mostly empty stretch of highway when Seabass spoke up. He asked us if we had seen the car behind us pull up from the shoulder right after we had passed. I looked back and saw a dark-colored Tahoe or something similar trailing us at a steady distance. I hadn't seen it pull off the shoulder, but being as we were on the highway, it wasn't exactly the weirdest thing. But then Kay changed lanes just to see, and the SUV followed. She did it again a minute later, and again, it mirrored her move. I was confused at first, but then a minute later the SUV put its lights
Who's driving? Wait. Is Kay driving? Oh my goodness.
followed. She did it again.
Kay's driving. What? Why is Seabass not driving? Why are you making Kay drive? Oh, GG. It's over already.
A minute later,
They're gonna make some stupid decision.
and again, it mirrored her move. I was confused at first, but then a minute later the SUV put its lights on, and everything made sense. We were getting pulled over by an undercover cop. Kay pulled over, and I watched as the cop pulled over behind us. I'm a pretty observant person. Processing information quickly is something I was quite literally trained to do. So I instantly realized something was off.
He's not a police.
The guy who stepped out didn't look like any cop I'd ever seen. He was wearing all black tactical gear, but nothing on him that said police. The only thing even remotely official looking about his uniform was a patch on his arm that said something I couldn't read. He didn't behave like a normal officer either. Instead of approaching Kay's window, he stood behind the car like he was waiting for something. I watched him a little while longer and realized he wasn't just standing behind the car, but was actively analyzing it. He was looking through the rear window like he was trying to see the stuff we packed. He was also checking out Kay's bumper stickers and her license plate. Seabass and Kay eventually caught on to the officer's strange behavior too, and Seabass rolled his window down before asking the officer if there was a problem. Instead of responding, the officer swiftly walked up to Kay's window and asked for her license and registration. Kay reluctantly gave it to him. He walked back to his vehicle and didn't return for a really long time. The three of us started whispering about how strange this whole encounter was getting, but we weren't sure what to do. After what felt like forever, the guy finally exited his car again, only this time, 2 other men stepped out with him.
GG.
I could feel my heartbeat ticking up, so I did some focused breathing to keep calm. The original officer walked back up to Kay's window and asked her if her father was in the army or something. Kay asked for clarification, and the officer mentioned the US military bumper sticker on the back of her car. Kay laughed and said that she was the one in the military, then turned to Seabass and I and said, them too. The moment Kay mentioned we were all in the military, I noticed a shift. The guy at her window didn't say anything right away, but his body language stiffened. He glanced back at the other 2 men, who were still standing near the rear of the SUV, and then he glanced back at Kay. There was a weird silence for a second, and then he just told Kay that he was letting her off with a warning and to drive more slowly. He handed back Kay's license and turned around without another word. The 3 of them got back in the car, and before Kay could even start her engine, the Tahoe pulled off and sped away. The 3 of us were dumbfounded. Seabass couldn't stop talking about how those guys weren't real officers.
Yeah, they're not.
They would have done something shady had we all been civilians.
Yep, 100%.
There really wasn't much more we could do.
100%, man. 100%. They found out they were military men, and they're like, you know what? That's not something we're gonna deal with, because obviously, if soldiers go missing, 100%. Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah. Not gonna lie though, you're gonna have, I mean in New Zealand though, police don't really have, undercover police will make sure that they know that they are a police, because they have badges and stuff, you know what I mean? Yeah, I'm not sure what to say about that story, to be honest. I mean, they're kind of dumb at the same time, because like, surely, well, again, you have to give them credit though, because they're in the US, so like, uniform and stuff might be different. I'm not 100% sure. What I do know is that, yeah, fake cops are a thing, and like, you just gotta be careful. Yeah, I mean, yeah, not sure what to say about that, honestly, because in New Zealand, right? You'll know if it's a fake police officer or not, you know? But then, of course, in America, like, I'm not sure how you're going to deal with that. It is what it is, you know? But they're definitely lucky that they were military people. Because if they weren't, they would have been, like, human trafficked or something.
Back on the highway. Austin was actually a really good time, and by the time we got back to base, we had all but forgotten about the stop. It wasn't until about a week later that I was reminded of it. I was sitting in the rec room watching the local news with Seabass when a story came on that made me freeze up. Apparently, a man and woman had been found dead in a ditch along a stretch of highway just outside of San Angelo. According to the reporter, the victims had been robbed and murdered, and investigators believed they were dumped there the night before. What really got me, though, was the next part. The vehicle found abandoned near the scene was a black Tahoe. Police confirmed it had been reported stolen months earlier, several states away. Seabass and I instantly went to find Kay, and the three of us agreed we had to tell the police about what we had seen. We told the police everything, and part of me felt a surge of guilt for not telling them sooner. Even to this day, I still think about how Kay's bumper sticker may have saved our lives that day. I can't help but think about how easily it could have been us in that ditch had we not been military.
But, I mean, like, I don't think the robbers would do anything. That was kind of mid-story, not gonna lie, chat. Not gonna lie, that was pretty mid. That was pretty mid, not gonna lie. Okay, I think one more, right? One more story, and then might move on to Roblox, because, yo, it is looking pretty mid, and also I'm freezing in here, GG. Next, last story, let's go, lock in.
I've always been a really private person. That's part of the reason I've waited so long to put this story out there. I can't think of many worse things than this story getting traced back to me somehow. But I was recently thinking about how it would be a shame to leave this earth without circulating it. So here it goes. I just want people to know that I'm really stepping out of my comfort zone doing this.
Shut up, just tell the story.
About 10 years ago, I was on a solo road trip from West Patterson, New Jersey to Fort Worth, Texas. I was on the way to visit my parents, whom I hadn't seen in a while. I'd moved out of Fort Worth years earlier and hadn't been back much since, so this trip felt overdue. Somewhere in the middle of nowhere, maybe Arkansas or the edge of Oklahoma, I can't really remember exactly, my car started acting up. I tried to ignore it for a while, but eventually I had no choice but to pull over. There wasn't much around, just trees, open field, and a long empty road behind me. I popped the hood and started poking around, pretending I knew what I was doing. I didn't. I was just sort of killing time, but I didn't want to admit that I was basically helpless. I figured I'd poke around for a bit, and once that failed, I'd call AAA.
Yeah, smart.
I didn't actually have AAA.
What?
So I was really pissed because I knew they'd charge me an arm and a leg.
Okay, but you're stranded, buddy. You're stranded, buddy. What? Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, smart, you know, Cordy maintenance people, right? Yeah, it is what it is, you know? Quarter maintenance people, but you're stranded. Like, come on now. Come on now. Come on, you know what I mean? Like, just pay it. Bro, why bro end the stream? The stream ain't ended. What you talking about? Is it ended? Hello? Yo, Poacher, you got me tripping there, fam. You got me tripping there. There ain't no... What you talking about? We fine, we Gucci. It's fine, yeah, okay. Let's continue on the story.
A few minutes later, though, I heard a car pulling up behind me.
GG.
It was a nondescript, white pickup truck. I remember noting to myself that it didn't have a front plate, or at least not one I could see. The driver's door opened and a man stepped out. If I had to guess, I'd say he was in his mid-30s, maybe a little older, but worn down in a way that made him seem older than he probably was. He had curly hair and a long, uneven beard that looked like it hadn't been trimmed in years. He seemed like the kind of guy you could tell worked with his hands a lot, if that makes any sense. He honestly kind of looked like an older version of me. Same build, same height, same hair color, just a bit less well-groomed than I am. He walked over slowly, giving my car a once-over as he approached. He didn't ask if I needed help so much as assume it. Before I even said anything, he was already leaning over the engine like he knew what he was doing. I spoke up and told him what happened, then thanked him for stopping to help me. He told me he was a mechanic, and based on how quickly he got to work, I didn't question it. I was already thinking about how I could repay him for the help when he said something that kind of surprised me. After a minute or two of fiddling, he stepped back and gave the engine a look that didn't exactly inspire confidence. He muttered something about needing a compression tester. Apparently, without it, the car wasn't going to start no matter what. Then he glanced over to his truck and said his friend, another mechanic, might be able to bring one over. I honestly...
You called AAA. What are you doing? Wait. Yo, okay, guys. The storyteller said that he has the hood popped open, right? And he's pretending like he knows what he's doing and looking around. That's why the guy pulled up to begin with, right? If you called AA, what you do, if you're stranded like that and your car broken, close the hood, get back in the car, lock the car doors, sit in the car and wait, and just don't answer anybody, you know what I mean? But, you have... It's not worth it, this is gonna be bad, GG.
He had no idea what the part even was that he was talking about, but he seemed genuine, so I believed him. I thanked him again, and he pulled out his phone, presumably to call his buddy. He froze up for a few seconds while looking at his phone screen, and then put his phone back in his pocket, saying it was dead. He then asked if he could borrow mine to make the call.
He lying. Just wait for AA, bro. Oh my goodness. You can't trust nobody.
I didn't even think twice about it. I pulled my phone out of my pocket and handed it to him without a second thought.
What are you doing?
He took it with one hand, and then, almost in the same motion, he reached into his jacket with the other and pulled out a gun. I instantly knew what was about.
I literally... Bruh, that's... Oh my... I literally called it as well. You can't trust nobody. What they taught...
to happen. He didn't say much, just told me to sit down on the shoulder and not try anything stupid. His voice didn't shake. He'd clearly done something like this before, or at least thought about it enough for it to seem practiced. I did what he said.
GG.
The whole thing felt strangely calm.
He got a gun.
We were both just going through something totally normal. He rifled through my pockets and took my wallet, my backpack from the passenger seat, and even had me show him the password to my phone. Then he drove off, and that was that. I had literally just been robbed on the side of the road. I know I'm speaking about it calmly now, but you best believe I was livid at the time. I don't think even now I've ever been more angry in my life. Unfortunately, there's more to this story. Much more. I'm not going to get into too much detail, but someone eventually did stop and help me. After getting my car started, they were even nice enough to give me directions all the way to my parents' house so I could do it without my phone. I made it to Fort Worth later that night, and given the circumstances, my visit with my parents was actually really nice. The next few weeks were a blur of canceling cards, replacing IDs, updating passwords, and basically recovering everything.
Well, keep in mind, this is the 1996, so I don't think two-factor authentication in bank cards is that. Yeah, I mean, like, it makes sense now. Because remember, the story takes back in 1996. So security things and wallets and stuff are definitely... Yeah, I don't even think the internet was back there. I didn't even think the internet was there. 1996. Wait, what's even going to be on your phone anyways, though? What? What's going to be on your phone in 1996? What you got? A camera? Phone number? Wait. It's 1996. Yo, there's like nothing to steal. Just a bank card and... just...
I'd lost. It was annoying and time-consuming, but I eventually squared away as much as I possibly could, and I got on with my life. Fast forward like 6 months, that's when things started to hit the fan. One day, I got a letter in the mail from some bank I didn't recognize. It was addressed to me, thanking me for opening a new line of credit. I figured it was a scam at first, or just some kind of junk mail. But then another one came. This time from Best Buy, with a card I'd supposedly opened and already racked up over $1,000 on. The charges were all from a random town in Tennessee. At first, I was more confused than anything, but that's when it hit me. I had forgotten until that exact moment that my social security card was likely in my wallet when I had gotten robbed. And now, the guy who had robbed me had everything he needed to become me. The next month of my life was a living hell. My credit report was a mess. Hard inquiries, new cards, balances I didn't spend. It felt like every day there was something new. If any of you have dealt with identity theft, you know how hopeless it can seem. I filed a report with the FTC, placed a fraud alert on all 3 credit bureaus, and even froze my...
He waited 6 months to do that. He didn't do it after he got robbed. He had a nice little trip with his parents, and then forgot about it for 6 months. Oh, wow. Yo, this guy deserves absolutely everything to him. I didn't check my social security number and ID wallet until 6 months later. You deserve it, man. What? Are you stupid? Yo, this guy's stupid. He really waited 6 months? Ha! You wait 6 months? Why? What is wrong with you? You should have done like the moment you get robbed, you go to the police and you make sure everything's secured. Why you wait 6 months? You gave that man all that time to set all that up. This guy deserves it, not gonna lie. He deserves everything that comes to him. 6 months later. Yo, he's dumb, bro. You could have sought everything. The moment you get robbed, you can sort everything out ASAP. Hey, I got robbed. My entire wallet's gone. All this and that is gone. Let me fix it. Done. Nah, he waited 6 months until the problem grew and grew and grew. And then when the... Why this guy is stupid, bro. Oh my...
I went to the police and gave them everything I had, but without a
I went to the police 6 months later. Get out of here, man. This story is dumb, bro. What a loser. I called the police 6 months later after... What? What's wrong with this? Okay.
Name or license plate. They apparently couldn't do a thing. I filed a formal report anyway, just to have a paper trail. I even called the local police departments in each of the towns where fraud had occurred. I followed every step you're supposed to follow, but somehow it wasn't enough. Things kept escalating. Whoever was stealing my identity was being extremely cautious about it. A few weeks later, I got a call from my health insurance provider. Someone had received emergency care under my name at a hospital in Georgia. It wasn't just a billing issue. There were now records in my file that didn't belong to me. Stuff that could actually screw me over if I ever landed in the hospital and couldn't speak for myself. I obviously reported everything to the police again, but that was the last straw for me. I decided to take matters into my own hands.
What?
From then on, I transformed my whole lifestyle and spent every ounce of my free time trying to track down the perpetrator myself.
What? This guy's stupid. I don't even want to do the rest of the story. This guy's just dumb. What is he trying to do now? Get revenge? What? Huh? So now he's gonna try... Now he's gonna try track the guy down.
I set up Google alerts for my name and any recent cities tied to the fraud. I checked my credit report constantly. I scanned forums and dug through social media. I did everything I could think of. One night, on a whim, I decided to start checking Craigslist. I focused on cities tied to the fraud, places where charges had shown up from or mail had come from. After looking around for a while, something caught my eye. It was a posting from Jackson, Tennessee. The listing was for a bunch of used power tools and some other miscellaneous items. I wasn't sure why it stood out to me so much, but the longer I looked, the more familiar it seemed. And then it clicked. Everything listed matched up perfectly with some of the things that had been charged to that Best Buy card. I sat there for a while, unsure what to do. Eventually, I responded to the listing saying I was interested in a couple of the
I don't want to listen to the story anymore, guys. This guy's just dumb. You know what I mean? He's just so stupid. Oh my goodness. It's bad. Yo, he gonna made it with the Craigslist guy. He finna... What's he gonna do? Wait, what happened to the live? Did the live crash? The live's fine. Yo, I was gonna say, yeah, this guy's just stupid, bro. He's gonna track him down. He's gonna confront them. Wait, do you have a gun? Do you have a gun? GG.
items and asked if they were still available.
This guy's stupid.
I debated trying to attach a tracker link or something clever, but I didn't want to spook whoever it was. If it was him, and he got even a hint that someone was onto him, he'd vanish. So I kept it simple. To my surprise, it didn't seem like the guy was onto me at all. After exchanging some emails over the next few days, he gave me a time and a public place to meet, and he told me to bring cash. The meeting was supposed to be the next day. I debated driving all the way to Tennessee myself, but I couldn't bring myself to. There's no telling what I would have done to that guy had I seen him in person a second time. So instead, I called the police department in Jackson to see if they remembered my case. They did, and I basically pleaded with them to help me out. I gave them everything I had and damn near prayed. By some miracle, they told me the details lined up just well enough for it to be worthwhile. They said they'd at least talk to him and see if there was any information they could get out of him. The next day, after a little back and forth, I got the guy to tell me he was driving a red pickup truck. I communicated that with the police and waited. After legitimately several hours, they called me. When they told me what had happened, I wanted to drop on my knees, I swear on my life. The officer told me that as soon as the guy spotted the patrol cars near the meetup spot, he immediately sped out of the lot. He didn't even try to play it cool. That alone was enough to raise red flags, so they followed him. Not long after, the guy ended up losing control of his truck and crashing into a ditch. It wasn't a major accident, but it was enough to get officers legally involved beyond just a casual questioning. According to them, he was a total wreck, visibly shaken, panicking, talking in circles, you get it. As soon as they even mentioned the Best Buy items, he folded. He admitted he didn't know where the stuff had come from, that it wasn't his, and that a friend had given it to him, and he had independently decided to resell it. It could not have been more perfect. The guy ratted out his friends, and with his cooperation, the police were able to acquire enough evidence to arrest the real perp. I've never felt more relief in my life. Like I said earlier, I'm not trying to have this traced back to me, so I'm gonna keep things vague from here on out.
No one's gonna track you, buddy.
I will say this much though, the guy who robbed me wasn't acting alone. Turns out, there were 3 of them total. The craziest part is that I wasn't the only victim.
Yeah, no kidding.
From what I was told, they'd been targeting travelers and isolated drivers up and down a few different interstate corridors.
Yeah, that was bad, chat. Alright. Think it's about time to do something else, you know what I mean? What, 2 hours? How long was the stream so far? 2 hours? Oh wow, it's nearly been 3 hours. Okay. Lock in, let's do something now, chat. Okay. You know what we should play? We should play, what kind of games you guys want to see? Tell me in the chat. I mean, I could do Roblox, but I have to download it on the laptop. Alright, lock in, I'll let you guys pick a game. It's probably going to be Roblox or something, alright? I'll be back real quick. Again. Once again, yet again. Oh man, it's cold. Soft gaming chair. Alright, chat. Oh. It's been a while. We were doing some good old, you know, reaction videos, but I think it's time to do something else. Alright. What should we play? Should we play some Slither.io? Some Diet.io? How's the phone? Yeah, phone's fully charged. That's W's, man. Okay, I'm thinking some Diet Slither.io. What you guys thinking? Agario? Something light, you know what I mean? Something light. Maybe some Slither.io? Bet. Let's try some rounds of Slither.io, yeah? Okay, let's try some games on Slither.io. It's not a hard game to run. Okay. Hello, is the game loading or what? Slither.io. Agario? Oh, that game's... Alright, let's go. Lock in. Yo, the live stream busted. Alright, here we go, chat. Agario, let's go. Let's name ourselves... Free-for-all Battle Royale teams... WingWong. Okay, lock in, let's go. Wait, I don't even know if I have a good data for this. Okay, lock in. Wait, I'm the only one in the lobby. What? Oh, it's laggy. Oh, it's so laggy. Wait, am I the only one in the lobby? I'm afraid I'm the only one in the lobby. That's weird. What? I think I'm the only one in the lobby, guys. Yeah, I literally am the only one in the lobby. This game sucks. There's no one. I'm in a solo lobby. Oh damn. What kind of game? I don't know if I could. I don't think my internet, the hotspot's gonna run Roblox. I ain't gonna lie. We could try it though. You know. Roblox. Download. Don't dox. This gonna dox me, isn't it? It's gonna dox me. Hold on, chat. Bear with me for a second. Hold on. It's gonna dox me. Hold on. Just wait. I don't even know if I could play Roblox. We're gonna try though. Alright, we're gonna try. At least we're gonna try a bit, alright? Bit. Hold on, just bear with me, chat. Alright, bear with me. I need to download it. And I try not to dox myself, you know what I mean? Yo, those horror stories though, what do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of that? You guys think if it was okay? We're still downloading, alright? Relax. Okay, Roblox. Oh, I need to sign in. I forgot my password and stuff. Email me a one-time code, wingwong.contacts. Okay, hold on. Yeah, my screen's not sharing, is it? It's not. Good. Good. It's not, because I need to do some... My screen's not sharing, is it? It's good. Yeah, it's not. Okay, hold on. Apparently I should get a code from Roblox. Where? I used the wrong email address. Hold on. Hold on, chat. Wait, we're gonna go on Roblox, alright? Relax, wait. Just chill out. What are you verifying I'm not a bot? I'm not a bot. Why do you think I'm a bot? I'm freezing in here. Yeah, I should get a 6-digit code from Roblox now. Right, where's the code? It's probably in spam. No, it's not in spam. Where is the code? I got no code. I'll resend the code. Where's the code? Chat, you're gonna have to bear with me for a second. I can't find the code. It ain't showing up. Where's the code? Is it in the spam area? No, it's not in the spam. Is it in the promotions, social updates? I'm not getting the code though, not gonna lie. I ain't getting the code. It ain't showing up. The code ain't showing up, bruh. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. I think no Roblox today then. Why the code not showing up? I don't even know the password. Yeah, I don't even know the password. Why does it not email me a one-time password? Wing. Oh, I needed to do the verification, that's why. They're gonna send me a one-time email now? Where's the one-time email? Chat. You're gonna have to just bear with me here. It is what it is, you know? It doesn't want to load. It doesn't want to load. I'm not getting an email. GG. There's no email sent. Make sure my screen's not sharing. All right. Hello? What's good, chat? We are back. Okay. Wow, it's getting cold in here. GG. Okay. Roblox time. But I'm playing on Mac, so it gonna be bad. It gonna be bad. Righty ho. Right, anyone still watching? Y'all ready? No one's here. No one's watching. Okay, we're gonna be playing